And welcome to Green Spoon Martyr's Cannabis Quick Hits, your single source for everything you need to know in the cannabis industry. My name is Nick Richards. So happy that you joined us today. With us today, we have Raj. Raj, is it Chauhan?
Chauhan. Yeah, that's close. Good. Yeah.
Raj, I'm just going to call you Batman. Is that all right?
Yes.
Raj, you're going to talk to us today about the ERC, as it's known, and you're with a company that is called Park Settlement, and I understand you're helping cannabis companies get the ERC. What is this ERC thing? And who are these Park Settlement? Can you help me with my parking meters?
Yeah, no, not exactly. That's great. But here's kind of how this all started, right? So, and I'll tell you kind of my story and how we got into this space, started helping out companies is that, so the ERC, the Employee Retention Credit, was put in place at the same time when they started the PPP loans at the government, right? Everyone knows about PPP, the loans and kind of how that works. But for some reason, the Employee Retention Credit really wasn't promoted that well by the US government. So last spring, about a year ago, effectively, I started hearing about this program. And so when I heard about it, I wasn't too sure what it was, but I heard that maybe one of my cannabis clients would qualify. And I do a lot of marketing and tech work in the cannabis space the last 5 years. So I looked into it, and sure enough, this program essentially says to any company, not just cannabis companies, but cannabis companies do qualify. That look, if you retain customers during the 7 quarters that the Employee Retention Credit has been created for during the COVID years, then here's a thank you. We want to give you a credit back on your employee W-2 taxes. So this is for payroll taxes and a credit back on that. You can get up to $26,000 per employee if you kind of do the math and you check every single box. But the reality is the range is about 12 to 15K per employee is what we see. If your business had 100 employees, you can kind of do the math off of that, right? And even if your business doesn't have those employees anymore, or if you're even unfortunately shuttered as a company, if you were open during those quarters, and quarter by quarter, our CPAs go through the process of making sure you qualify, and we submit everything to the government so that you can get your refund in a timely fashion.
And you say quarter by quarter. I'm interested in that, but before I do, I just want to clarify one thing, Raj. As you were just saying this, you said as long as you retained customers, you meant employees, right?
Did I say customers? Yeah, sorry, employees.
Yeah,
thank you.
No problem. Because then you just started talking about employees, and it was obvious. But I just want to make sure that was right. Yeah. So quarter by quarter. Now, I understand there's a deadline coming up, but is that also quarter by quarter the way that deadline works?
Well, the way to think about deadlines is that your deadline is based on the payroll tax timeline to refile and to do a 941X. Right. So that's the deadline. So yes, deadlines every day are starting to come up, but we do have a few years. If you think about the fact that your timeline for filing for 2020 would be 2024. You have 4 years able to file. Now, here's the reason why it's a thing that you should move on pretty quickly. 2 things. One is that there's a fund, and so the fund is getting depleted. The second thing is the government's getting very busy. So we've been doing this for a year. That first quarter, we were seeing the government get through the paperwork and issue the credits at a much faster pace than they are now. And we think it's because, everyone's catching wind of this program, and there's a lot of submissions coming in now. So you want to get on top of it as fast as you can, because the sooner you apply, obviously, the faster you get your money. And with the IRS, it's unclear how busy they will become or what's going to happen now with just standard tax season coming up, if they're going to have the attention they have had with us since last April to kind of move things quickly. So this is why you want to get it going pretty quickly. Everyone has a chance to get this done, but you want to do it sooner than later,
Hey, Raj, we're talking about that this, you've had experience getting this for cannabis companies. There's a little bit of uncertainty around that, and I think you alluded to that earlier by saying that cannabis companies do qualify for this. What are the concerns? What are the concerns that a cannabis company would have here that would make them think they didn't qualify?
Well, I mean, the obvious one is that they're not federally legal businesses, right? And so here's the government giving them money back. And so the way to think about that is that, this is coming off of a payroll tax credit. So it's off the payroll, which cannabis companies, most of them who have W-2 employees, are paying their payroll taxes. So what we did is in this process in the last year of submitting this and filing this for a number of companies, I even early on was kind of questioning if it was, valid or not. But we have had a few customers who were going through a standard IRS audit who had submitted this as well too. And so all of these have passed muster with the audit as well. And it's a very valid and standard type kind of credit. We've probably produced somewhere between $40 to $50 million in credits back to cannabis companies. Yeah, it's a lot. And
it's a time when the cannabis companies need every penny they can get.
It's a great time to get some money and tax free from the federal government. So times are tough right now, right? So this is really helping out a lot of folks, and we feel great about it to do this for everybody. But being that I've been in cannabis since 2017, I'm especially really happy to get a lot of my friends and my network, some of the capital back used for their business.
Raj, what about, I understand that one of the things is that you're supposed to be sort of damaged, hurt in some way financially by COVID. I understand that there was a bunch of free money that happened and everybody had to stay home and everybody went out and bought marijuana and the cannabis industry did kind of good for a little while there. Help me understand that. Is that a problem?
Sure.
Problem for the cannabis industry?
So I think that's one of the challenges that folks have is that they the misnomer is that I made more money during COVID, so I don't qualify. But the reality is there's a few different reasons why you qualify for the employee retention credit, and one of the main kind of points that they have is interruption in your business activities due to local, state, or federal restrictions. Now, everyone was affected in some way, shape, or form, right? And we have a number of cannabis companies that all made more revenue during those quarters, but they qualify due to supply chain issues, which is a big piece of it. Even just the fact that, especially in our industry in cannabis, right, this is a very in-person industry. You need to touch and feel a product. So there's no more brand ambassadors at the store anymore because of COVID regulations, right? There was no more conferences like Hall of Flowers, where lots of transactions and business is done over there. You have to touch and feel this product, cannabis, very similar to, like diamonds or something. So it became a challenge to grow the business. So you may have made more money, but how much more income would you have made if you didn't have these restrictions for your business or the supply chain issues that everybody ran into? And then there's social distancing inside the store. So for a retailer, retailers are a no-brainer. We've worked with retailers, distributors, manufacturers, folks who kind of are not plant touching as well too, that are in the industry, because the whole space was affected. So there's lots of reasons besides just a decline in revenue that you qualify for this employee retention credit. Yeah.
So and really, Raj, that really rings true with me. So many of my clients talked about how so much more they had to do during that time period.
Yeah.
Everywhere from like curbside service to all these different sort of things, all the PPP gear and all that kind of stuff that they had to do, and only one customer in the store at each time, and all that, created so much more expense on their side. And you hear about that again and again.
And staffing issues. Staffing issues is a top issue for every employer during COVID, but due to employees getting COVID or having to who are thinking they had COVID and not being at work, there's all types of staffing issues that happen. And this is what we put together with a really great professional group of CPAs. We're submitting a 30 to 40 page document to the IRS with all the reasons why the company qualifies. And it's great. In the last 6 months, we've started to see a lot of the checks roll into our customers.
Do they come on? Do I get all the money at once? Can I
That's a great
plan
question.
that vacation out? I mean, what's the deal?
Yeah. No, great question. So what we do is like any standard CPA, our CPAs file at 8821 with the IRS, and that way our team is tracking every day, when the IRS is going to issue the checks. And what they're doing is they're supplying a check date and quarter by quarter. So if there's 7 quarters that are available for the employee retention credit, per quarter you're going to receive a check for each of the individual companies you may have. So if you have 2 businesses, 10 businesses, whatever the case might be, then you can see a good check date that shows up for that particular quarter, for that particular company. When it takes about 2 to 3 weeks after we know that date, right? If it says March 16th, chances are the U.S. government will send that check out within 2 to 3 weeks, and that will be sent directly to our customer, and we just charge on a contingency basis. Once they receive the money, they can pay us, and there's no sweat off their back until they actually receive the funds.
Great to know. Great to know. I'm a cautious guy, Raj. You might not, see that from this webinar, but anyway, what's the risk here? What's the risk? I mean, why wouldn't I do this?
It's very low risk. There's no reason why anybody should not go ahead and move forward with this. To be honest, this is a very low risk product. And if you'd asked me, like I said, a year ago, I'm the same way, right? Like I like to really understand what I'm doing, make sure it's legitimate before I start, telling the world about something. And so it was just in the last 6 months that we had the process, what I was telling you, where we had not just the checks coming into our customers, but also the audits that occurred, right? The IRS audits, when they happened, which were standard audits that were occurring to our customers, all the sign-offs that happened with that really kind of, made us lean in even further and convinced us it's legitimate,
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Yeah. Raj, thank you so much. Really, really happy to get some good news out there in these tough days. Raj, tell our viewers how they can find you.
Sure. You can go to parksettlement.net. You can find us online there. You can do the full application online, all the way through a DocuSign, and then our onboarding team will be in touch with you within usually like a half an hour or so. Also email us at erc@parksettlement.com. Feel free to shoot us a note over there. And, I'm available anytime I receive that email. I'm glad to jump on the phone with anybody as well.
Raj, great work you're doing here. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Nick.
Hey, everybody. Quick hits. Nick Richards, glad to get you the information you need. Have a great day.